Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Sisterhood sessions, which is all about conversations around empowering women. And over to you, Dr. Maya Java.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with all of you. We hope to be bringing conversations of how all of you can be successful, or what challenges women might have, and how we can move forward together. Sisterhood is important in all of us propping each other up in everything that we do, and it should be central to part of our DNA. And so we're here for all of us to work together.
Great. Well, I just want to kick off, Maya, by talking about your incredible resilient future life educator idea hub that you have set up, which is all about sustainability management and career readiness competencies, and how basically just how we can start planning for more business in a really sustainable way, and how that can really empower women to be better joined up um, in working. So, is there anything you want to?
Yeah, I mean, just a quick background on the website itself. It was a vision of my students. I teach international management at UW Platteville and in Wisconsin. And so we had one groups, they created a company that really looked at landmine survivors. And we had a connection in Lebanon and working with an organization on the ground there for landmine survivors. And my students created a nonprofit. They designed and developed strategies for it, and they did some fundraising. And with the money, unfortunately, we were going to send it back, but unfortunately, because of this was in fall 2023, the situation within the Middle East that happened there, it was a challenge to send money to the country for it to be safe and utilized properly at that time. So my students' vision and hope was to create an education platform website um, within that realm. I've worked and was supported by my university with a grant to build this website, and I've built it in hopes to it becomes an educational tool, as the vision of my students was hoping for. And now I use it as part of my classes. So you will see on the website there are my students' work and their vision of what organizations can do to support war survivors, and also what should there be their accountability for their environmental, social justice, as well as governance. And it teaches them, so they create sustainability reports, they create corporate responsibility reports, as well as they create videos and utilizing AI. So they start understanding how that tool is used, as well as their vision is on the site, which I hope, and going back to entrepreneurs and other companies, can utilize this as inspiration of what
Mm,
the students have thought of, and maybe that's something they would want to do within that realm, within what my students have created. So it's shared knowledge as well there that I hope for.
absolutely. And I find it really interesting and inspiring because sustainability is such a hot topic. And you've gone straight into the nitty gritty of everything to do with sustainability and ESG. Straight away, I could see the World Economic Forum 2024 Future of Jobs Survey analysis of the global market trends, which highlights the emerging skills and shifting economies and the impact of technology, sustainability, and economic change in the futures of work. And it was really interesting looking at the resilient futures of where the skills lie that we really need
Yeah.
um, for the jobs of the future. What I found really interesting in that is that analytical thinking was, one was the most top skill required as a as a a future skill for a working person. And then after that, that was 69%. And after that, resilience, flexibility, and agility, creative thinking, and all of those sorts of skills are so important for the jobs market of the future. And in fact, it was AI and big data comes at number 11,
Yeah.
and right at the bottom comes sensory processing abilities. But at the top, it's all about analytical thinking, resilience, flexibility, agility, creative thinking, motivation, and self awareness, and having empathy and active listening and technological literacy. So it's such an interesting um, analysis of what is needed for the future jobs market.
Yeah, I know. I've been having conversations across the UW system on the needs of these skills to be built into our education system. And understanding most people are scared of AI and they're like, oh, AI is going to take away our jobs. But, back in the early 2000s, we didn't have internet and we didn't have Google and other search engines. And we used to go to the library to get our information. And so Google searches gave us information. AI is another tool for a larger information and faster information sets, but we still need analytical thinking. Still need to be able to analyze the information that's given to us through AI. And I think it's a research tool that we didn't have before, and it's just another level of where we were back in the early 2000s. This is just another level of data collection that we can get. And because AI goes out to a larger data sets that's already existing on the net and it brings it back to you for you to be able to gather information. But you need to be able to analyze that information and see what that is. You still need to think what that information is going to get you and be able to move it forward. So as I look towards my students, I look to give them those foundations of from team building, uh, critical thinking, innovation, um, creative problem solving, all of those foundations as part of, as well as they learn the foundational learning that I'm trying to give them for those subject matters. But it's so important to understand that these are important skills. And if you have those, and when we talk about women coming back into the marketplace, looking at what those skills are and figuring out how do you translate what you do already into those skills to be able to talk about them, right?
Mm,
Because from multitasking and being able to build community and collaboration and looking at those understanding diversity and understanding, so that's where empathy comes into play, right? All of those skin skills are a large percentage of them, if we look at it from like male female traits, they're largely female trait foundations, right? Where
mm,
empathy comes in, and when we look at that, those are traits that women already have. Large
mm.
of them already have. I mean, like foundationally, we have those, but how do you hone into them and how do you build those? And those are things you want to start looking at or understanding and analyzing for yourselves of where you are and being able to talk about them.
Yeah,
Right.
and what I found really interesting was I expected programming to be really high up on the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs survey skills, and in actual fact, it was number 23. What was really interesting was it kind of like hinted that we need to use and harness technology in in a way that enhances people's lives. by being analytical, by thinking flexibly, by being creative, and using technology to our advantage rather than our disadvantage. And so,
Right. And that's true.
mm, and looking at you've mentioned about supporting war survivors. I thought what was really interesting, and you've talked about masculinity and femininity, was that you had mentioned in there the some of the key, like, how can I put it? The key differences between how we are and how we could be in that conflict. So rather than us thinking about individualism, which is, could be a very masculine trait, we're thinking about collectivism
Yeah.
and thinking about achievement and outcomes, which could be considered a masculine trait. We're thinking about being caring and our relationships with us, people in our society and societies globally. And I thought that what was really interesting was the concept that came out of that, of the supporting war survivors, was it was all about, do we look at what's happening today, or do we look at planning for what is to come ahead? So this masculine, feminine, and trying to build a better future was something that I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to look at masculine and feminine traits and not um, in a negative way. All of us have to be successful women, we need to take on masculine traits. We need to
Mm,
have that drive and where women have not been given those traits, right? Like be ambitious, be strong. Um, I've been called a bulldog in a room because I keep my voice up and I come from a very masculine industry, from the design build industry, from construction and real estate and just overall architectural design of where you have to be. You have to have those strong traits, but it has to be, I think, an equilibrium of it. Of as women, we need to embrace these masculine traits and hone in on them to be able to be that, to have that drive and that strength within the room, within which what is a masculine trait. And our male counterparts need to also hone in on their feminine traits as well as we look within our society and how to transition it and transform it. Because when we talk about agile organizations or organizations that are able to adapt to the current market that is very turbulent and ever changing, they need to have that sense of collaboration and community because they need to work together across organizations and even across businesses, perhaps, and collaborate together within that. And I think we need to go to that level of just working together and supporting each other in multiple ways, not just individual businesses, but businesses across the realm to support each other. And I hope women entrepreneurs look to do that across the board and then we show everybody that this is a here's a sample and a prototype of how well these things can go.
yeah, and I because what was really interesting is some of the questions that were on the hub were things like, what is the global supply chain design looking like for a company? Where are the things that are being used, being sourced from? And
Right.
that got me thinking, because I thought, well, how do we as consumers, as women consumers, how do we support other collectives of women to succeed also in terms of how we exercise our consumer power? Are we buying things uh, from collectives where women are making things? Are we supporting that process, and are we supporting not just uh, uh, things that are produced by corporates, but are we actually supporting a sustainable network?
Right. I mean, I can't answer. I don't think there's documentation on that, but I mean, for me, I will look for fair trade
Yeah,
symbols on products. I will look for other form of certifications and things that might be on there to show that these are, but I don't like women-owned businesses. There are they usually might have a stamp on their stuff, but rarely would they do
yeah.
that.
Interesting. I had somebody contact me from Uganda, and he was very interested in doing some partnerships about supporting projects that are right there, women collective projects where women are doing beekeeping, producing honey, goat herding. And what can we do as Western consumers or as global consumers to support the collectives of women out there, so that we're not just like buying things that have got the big brand names on.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
I think that there's a real need to uh, support smaller collectives.
I agree 100%. I've always been a social entrepreneur. So I've always targeted or used my knowledge and foundations to support small to mid-sized businesses. Because other larger or a lot of other consultants and everything else targeted or companies target the larger uh, much
Yeah,
larger organizations because that's where the money is, right? To an
a lot.
extent, but I think we need to support 100%. How do you support? And we need to support family-owned businesses, even within our communities. We need to go and support them instead of the larger conglomerates. So, yeah,
And the large,
I think
yeah,
it needs to be studied.
absolutely. And the larger corporates can support the smaller ones. For example, in supermarkets, we could be seeing more foodstuffs that are stocked, that are made by smaller collectives of women, so that women as consumers are supporting other women, um, who are producing goods and setting up smaller businesses. So the larger collectives, like the larger supermarkets, can really big part in driving environmental social governance, sustainable business models, just in terms of the foodstuffs and the items that they're stocking in their supermarkets. And those are the things that we're buying. So we all have access
Yeah.
to.
It takes a village. It takes the larger ones supporting the smaller ones. It takes us supporting everything else. It takes us also voicing it to the larger ones saying, this is what we want. Right? So put that on our shelves. Like give us a section of like from women to small business owner section within the stores where we can actually go and see. Like, do we want to support them and make those decisions ourselves? But them give us access is so important. So I think all of these things are important in that knowledge. And I hope the website will grow in maybe even showing some of these entrepreneurships and showing resiliency. It's all about resiliency and where we are. These women in, say, Uganda are resilient in what they're trying to do and how they're trying to create a better life for themselves. And I think we need to be a global community in supporting each other across the world because when we look at it, our supply chain is global, our community is global, and that's how we need to think about it and work together on that sense.
And also have more fairness in terms of how we distribute the money that we spend. It is distributed fairly across the supply chain globally, and it does support other women that are entrepreneurs, that are producing high quality items that can come into our kitchens and onto our food tables. I think those things,
Well,
yeah.
I talk to my students all the time saying, when we do this, when we look at entering markets, because I also teach global business, and when we enter markets on a global scale, we need to, and we're going to met, if we're going to be able to utilize businesses for manufacturing outside the United States, and I ask them these questions, should we hold them accountable to the ethics that we hold, the organization holds, that you give, that what you get from hopefully fair pay for survival, healthcare, and safety, should those foundations be given, and making sure that those people in those countries get the same, and all of them, like 90%, and it's usually an anonymous survey, all of them say yes. And that's the way it should be. And they say that it's a responsibility of an organization.
Yeah.
Because when we look at this, when we talk about fair pay, it doesn't mean they get paid what I pay or what I'm getting paid. It is a living wage within that country, right?
Mm,
Safety within that country, like safety regulations across the board, but making sure that they were working in a safe environment, they have the health care aspects of it. I was talking about this week, that I said, if you're going to go and work as a manufacturer, and we don't want child labor, but if mothers that are in this situation need to have their kids taken care of, making sure that you work with that supplier on the ground and say, can you give childcare to these
mm,
women for them to be able to work with you, right? Like, can we give education, and where, you donate part of your process or proceed profits to support education in that country that you're going to be affecting, or you're going to be reaping benefits from.
yes.
You need to give back to them within that. And these are the mindsets we need to have, like where business accountability comes into play, and where we're going to be getting resources from a place, we need to leave it um, in a better way than just taking from it. And
Yeah.
I think this is a mentality we should be having in our businesses and as we grow.
Yeah, because it all comes back to us. When countries are destabilized, it causes mass migration and it
Right.
disrupts the ecosystems of other countries. When you have mass migration, that's unreal. It's
Right. Right. So if we can create better environments in the places that we are getting our resources from, most people don't want to leave their country.
mm,
Most people want to stay where they are. Like, that's their home. And I
mm,
think when we talk about immigration and migration, to people leave their places for a better world. Like, that's how the United States was built. We
mm,
had people coming from Europe and every other part of the world, coming here to find a better life from what they have, right? So if we can give foundationally to the places that we take our resources from, and saying, let's give you the right foundations for you to stay where you are, or help you try to do that, then people won't leave. I
mm.
immigrated to the United States. We didn't want to come here originally, almost 40 years ago, you know, but war and other aspects got us here, and it's been a blessing to be here, um, for the opportunities and what the true foundations of what the United States is supposed to be. So it's been wonderful on that side of it, but if we really look at it, most people don't want to leave their country, their home.
Mm,
You know,
absolutely.
life
Being
happens, and and we need to support each other, I think, across the board.
Absolutely. And I loved the competencies about sustainable management that were on your hub. The main ones being, innovation and creativity to create inclusive business models that address the kind of issues that you've just talked about. We're thinking about building much more responsible trading um, supply chains that encourage stability in the communities where we're benefiting from with our trade. And also, one of the key areas that I loved was seeing stakeholder engagement and communication, so that we're thinking about maintaining relationships and dealing with diverse stakeholders. We're not just doing business large corporate to large corporate, we're actually thinking about supporting businesses that are owned and led by smaller women or women collectives. So that, how we do our stakeholder holder engagement and how corporates think about stakeholder engagement and how they communicate when it comes to that supply chain, I think is really important. And the third thing I really loved was critical thinking and analytical skills. So evaluating between what you've just mentioned, which is profitability for corporates versus long-term social impact. And we're thinking more in terms of corporates and large global organizations having long-term social impact in how they do their supply chains and trading.
Yeah, I think Patagonia is a great example of that large company. From their initiation, they were been a social entrepreneur with purpose in mind. And having purpose as a foundation of an organization is foundational, I think, in today's market, and making sure purpose is built into it. And I think those organizations that have purpose or try to put purpose as a forefront of their business models are going to be successful and
Yeah. I mean, I feel um, there is a real drive at the moment where people feel quite powerless because everything is shareholder driven and larger companies and larger corporates and um, the ones that are standing outside of that circle feel quite powerless.
But I think we need to understand, and I think we don't understand when we look at business, it's all about market share. Market share means that you have your consumer loyalty. And we are the consumers. We have the power. Women are the largest purchasers. So we can, as a collective, as a group, start saying we're only going to buy from ethical organizations. We're only going to buy from organizations that are doing right by their people, by their supply chain, by all of those, and we demand transparency. And that's what's happening. From the younger generations are being vocal about it, and are if we as consumers start, I mean, you could see boycotting when consumers boycott certain organizations, they lose so much money.
Mm.
So we have the power. You might think they do, but no, we are the ones that have the power. And I think if we take our power back on so many levels, we would be able to really transform as this current younger generation has proven to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love that vision. And wouldn't it be great, even as a starting point, if we had, for example, foodstuffs that we could buy in the supermarket that showed that supply chain to be ethical, and time we scanned something and put it into our purchase trolley, we were able to see what that supply chain looks like.
Yeah.
technologically, and we were able to see the contribution that goes back to right to the grassroots level of, how we are supporting smaller businesses, women supporting women, um, to make money
Right.
in our purchasing power. So that's a really fantastic dream, and something even small as that, if it was used worldwide, would make such a massive difference.
It would, and I think, like, there are people trying to push in that direction for that full transparency, full supply chain aspect of all products. Um, when we look at scope 3, when in, the decarbonization models, that's the hardest part, and that's where supply chain comes into play, of where is everything, and are you documenting where that is? And now larger organizations are doing that and understanding it. Interface is a carpet tile and a carpeting organization that has done that and is doing it really well in what they do, from their environmental footprint to the transparency of where their product comes from and everything else. So it's feasible, it could be done, it's out there. It's just to getting more organizations to do that. And I
Mm,
think as we start looking to empower women, I think if we can teach them or help them see the right way to start and the right way to build an organization by creating agile teams and not the traditional top-down triangle of a model where you have, here's the CEO in a room by themselves, and then you have like all these layers of management, but creating more of a matrix organization that is all about small collaborative groups that work together across disciplinary, and having them start creating those models, I think they will be more successful within that and being able to give opportunities. So if we can start helping them start seeing that and building it with the right foundations in the beginning, I think would be great. And that's what I hope we can do together.
absolutely. Well, that's such a fantastic dream, Mayor. And we're all behind you. I'm all behind you. And we're so aligned with Mothers Into Work. And it's such a joy and a pleasure to have um, this Educator Idea Hub, which is about resilience and equality and equity and sustainability on our Mothers Into Work.
And so the website is resilientfuture.life, if you would like to look it up. Unfortunately, do not go on Microsoft Edge to look for it. You can't find it on that site, but Google, Firefox, or any other search engine, a great search engine I will try to advertise is, where is it? It is an environmental search engine that is great. Let me get it. It is um Escocia.
oh,
Have you
wow.
heard of it? It's
Yeah.
Escocia search engine. It's ECOSIA. They are a green organization, so it's escocia.org. It's a search engine that is dedicated to planting trees and other climate actions. So any money they're making, they're taking their profitability and doing it. I think it's a great search engine, and through that search engine, you could definitely find resilientfuture.life. But you just utilizing that search engine um, helps them be able to plant more trees. Or so on their website, when you open it, I think they've planted uh, 241,619,696 trees so far through their organization, and they've dedicated over $96 million towards climate actions.
Fantastic, and it's absolutely great to to have initiatives like this. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to put a link on our sustainability and green skills section of our website too, so that it's your educator hub is easy to find for all our interested people. But it's been
Wonderful.
you, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. I look forward to our next session.
Thank you. Thank you.